somewhere. Yes. Here it is. Sorry. Now that all perfectly laid out, but you have more. Okay.
Test, test. Test, test, test. In Zoom? Where? I don't see it. Where's the green? Oh, I see. Okay, got it. Okay.
Pause it until we're ready to start. Okay. Yeah. So go to the right. Okay. Those are the wireless ones? Yeah. That's our step. You mean on the, okay, so that's our step, right? Okay, so I'm looking at like, one, two, one, one, two, one, one, above the, we can set that to false. Well, one, two, three, four, two, one above the mark. Yeah, I'll figure out, I don't know how to set this false. So one, two, three, four, yeah. Like, I think Mike just got a dead battery. So Mike 4 has no power. Mike 3 has no power. Okay, but Mike 2 is also on the table with a dead battery. Well, we have a mic at the end table, a mic at the desk, but we need a mic at the. Oh, yeah, yes, but I need to get batteries. Okay, you think it's into the battery for good? Okay. Well, I would think battery, the little battery is here. Okay, I don't know.
Test, test. Test, 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 test.
Okay, so I replaced the battery that might do it, it's not.
I mean, it sounds like it's working to me. I guess, so I'm gonna put it at the podium. Am I on the mic, Paul? Can you hear me through the sound system? Okay, all right.
Mr. Mayor. Oh, and asking me to release screen on Facebook.
I hadn't thought about that. How hard is it?
How hard is it? Shouldn't be hard at all.
Let's do it then if we can,
Yes.
just because.
Yes, we're going. Man. Here.
Great title, city council member Chavez.
All right, let the record reflect all origination members are present. Congratulations, everybody, on being here for the very first meeting of this very important body.
As far as different titles.
With that, we are open at this time for general public comment. It's an opportunity for the public to share comments regarding items not on today's agenda, but within the purview of this particular body. We invite folks to use a raise hand function via Zoom, *9, if you are on a landline in order to be recognized. Do we see any hands up, Ann? All right, seeing no hands up and nobody coming forward in chambers, we will go ahead and close public comment and proceed forward with our scheduled items. The first is 5A. I know we had a staff report. I don't know if there's anything to add. Okay, thank you, Renee. We'll open this item up for public comment. Again, ask folks to use the raise hand function *9 via landline to be recognized. Seeing no hands going up and nobody coming forward in chambers, I'll bring it back to the body for discussion.
So I would like to make a motion to make Supervisor Lopez our chair.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Definitely.
I appreciate that. Why don't, and I'll go ahead and recommend Mayor LaBarre as vice at this time. Is there a second? to
I'll
that?
second that.
Okay, and then the last piece is establish a date and time and location for quarterly meetings. Was there a thought on that yet, Renee?
No, there's not. I mean, if this day works, I mean, I think Greenfield is a decent location from Central. Chair, I think it's just, from a workable thing, it makes a lot of sense. So that would be staff recommendation. And then a date that works for you guys.
Okay.
This is the time that works. Because there's gonna be a lot of work.
Yeah.
As soon as you have the presentation and contracts and everything's gonna start flowing to this body, so you need to find a time and date that really works for. And to give you guys time to form your alternates too, we have to, for example, go ahead and get the next council meeting.
Okay, then at this point, I think we've established a location and we will go ahead and work with staff to determine the best consistent time to meet quarterly, unless I see council coming forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I don't think we will vote on the previous two.
So we're gonna do it as one big group on
We
all.
don't have to do a roll call. I would be prepared to come back with some bylaws at the next meeting for your consideration that would establish the location and then sort of whatever date. Typical bylaws for
Great, thank you, Les. So at this time, I've heard willingness to move forward with a motion that looks like Mayor LaBarre as vice president, myself as president, Greenfield is a location for our meetings, and a time to be determined, but quarterly for this body.
Yeah, and just the chair, Neil Gonzalez should be coordinating that with Greenfield and the work. So
Okay.
she'll be the one that coordinates the time that we're doing this.
Wonderful. Thank you, Renee. And with that, we'll also consider the direction given that next meeting will receive bylaws from council that encapsulate all the decisions made as part of this motion. So with that being stated, is there a motion to the effect?
So moved.
I've got a motion and a second. We'll go ahead and vote. It's been a while since I haven't had to do a roll call vote. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries. With that, we'll move forward into receiving a presentation from Barbara Hayes, Chief Economic Development Officer of RCRC, or the Rural County Representatives of California, also with the title on the Golden State Connect Authority Partnership. So Barbara, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me all right? Yes, can you hear me?
Just 1 second, Barbara.
Okay,
1 second, Barbara. We're waiting on the audio to pick up here in chambers.
okay.
I guess I'll follow it up a little bit. So we invited Barbara Hayes, and many of you met at the signing to give an update on kind of the project and the connection with RCRC, which I think is a certain. So I asked her to, I asked her to give a presentation of this to come. Because there's going to be a lot of activity should the board move forward on partnership with easements, what things are going to win, the schedule, grants, funding, all of that's going to come in. You'll have an option to staff the recommend we work with MDAP to kind of be the executive director. This do a housekeeping work, and I'll take to it. So it should be a lot of stuff too, obviously, for your council as well. So there's going to be a lot of agreements in the next few months. Then you'll have to make some decisions on and some funding decisions as well.
Keep talking.
Can you hear me now? No? Can you hear me now?
Well, it should get better as the broadband gets better.
How about now? Can you hear me? No? No, can't hear? How about now? No? Hello? Hello?
It's 9:10.
Hello?
It's 9:10. I'm going to go ahead and recess us for 5 minutes. So we'll be back at 9:15. Thank you.
There's some coffee.
Coffee and donuts and everything back here. All right, gentlemen.
This is one can we do this?
It was atrocious. She's in the traffic.
Barbara, can you say something?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I could hear you on my laptop.
Would your microphone work? Put it down.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, can you say it again?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yep. We can hear you on this
Can
one
you hear
laptop.
you? Can you hear her?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you on my laptop. We're trying to get it over the,
Put the microphone against the.
You know, we know the issues here.
Yeah, what if we put the microphone against the mic? Just trying to do that.
Can't hear on ours.
Which is pretty small.
I'm gonna try another computer and then putting it up on the top. So if you could bear with me.
Can you hear it from there?
Mm-mm. I can hear her, but I don't know why it's not going all the way.
Oh,
through.
there's a- on this last chair.
Yeah. Should be okay. That might not work.
Gordon. Back, how come?
Can you try it now?
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello?
I can hear you, but we can't hear. What's happening is it can't go over. It's not going over the projector.
It's a different microphone.
We tried it, it wasn't working, Robin. Just bear with us, please. This is mine.
Okay, well, this is, I don't understand why it's coming out here instead of somewhere else, but
I
With this 58.
with,
58.
Where's it going?
hmm?
Where's it? Where's the speaker?
Yeah, so can
Speakers
she,
are just here.
so can she talk,
Can you say something?
Barbara?
Yeah, test, 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 test,
Okay,
Test.
keep testing.
test, 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 test,
Okay.
test, 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 1, 2, 3,
All right.
test,
Yeah, in the bottom?
Yeah,
Huh, that's the weirdest
test.
thing. Okay, I
Okay.
think that's gonna work.
yeah, that's gonna
And you've
hold this
got, then already got audio, video, right?
on the screens, yes.
Yes, okay. That should work. Want me to hold that?
No, I can do it.
Taking notes,
Yeah.
I can hold.
I'm not gonna take too much notes, so,
presentation.
yeah.
Okay. Do you want me, you want to hold this here?
I want it.
Okay.
Okay,
Did it work?
it is working where we kind of did something. So, they're not back in chambers yet, but they will be. in a
Okay.
couple minutes.
No problem.
All right, it is 9:15. Almost made it. 9:15, we're back reconvening, and at this point, I'm going to turn the floor over to Barbara Hayes.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
All right. Thank goodness for bagels and donuts. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for inviting me this morning. And I just have to say at the outset, we're honored to be part of the conversation, part of the solution. And thank you personally for including me in the event of a week or so ago, the signing of the MOUs. That was a fun day. So with that, we're going to push the bounds of technology here. And if you don't mind, I'll share my screen for just a second. And I have just 4 slides that I want to share with you to kind of let you know who your potential future partner is. So as Supervisor Lopez mentioned, my name is Barbara Hayes, and I'm the Chief Economic Development Officer at Rural County Representatives of California, also known as RCRC. And back in December, RCRC took the action of forming a JPA ourselves, and it is called Golden State Connect Authority. And the purpose of forming this JPA was really to encapsulate all of our work around broadband under one entity so that it could be focused and effective in the work performed. You can see there on the map, the RCRC membership almost mirrors, or I should say Golden State Connect Authority almost mirrors the RCRC membership, with the exception of one county, and that's Solano, which will be added to the Golden State Connect Authority membership at the next GSCA meeting on June 24th. So we do have 39 member counties, or as of June 24th, we will. Monterey, of course, among them. And the focus around the program of work there, you can see for Golden State Connect Authority, falls into 3 encompassing buckets. It has to do with broadband strategic planning, capacity building, and then the last one, which we're going to talk about today, is the open access municipal broadband deployment. So I want to just very briefly cover the broadband, the items 1 and 2 there. So under broadband strategic plans, Monterey County is also involved in this effort. And I should say, under the agreement of Golden State Connect Authority, Monterey County sits on the board of Golden State Connect and represents all of you in that capacity. Each city within Monterey County and within all member counties is also eligible to participate with Golden State Connect in the manner in which we envision doing so here with you all today, as in this case with the JPA, but also in other counties as individual entities. So the difference being that the cities don't have a seat on the governing body. The governing body is comprised of elected representatives from each of the member counties. So in this case, your representative from Monterey County happens to be Supervisor Lopez, just another of the hats that he wears. So back to the slide, the broadband strategic plan, we submitted a grant to the U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration back in September 3rd of last year to be exact. We received conditional approval of that grant on March 16th of this year. And the grant was, the application will provide funds for the development of broadband strategic plans for 27 member counties that opted into the grant. So we wrote the grant, submitted it, and on behalf of 27 counties that elected to join as members of that grant, receive dollars that will flow through the grant for the development of broadband strategic plans. Monterey County is one of those counties. We expect final approval at any moment. As you can imagine, the U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration was overwhelmed with an augmented budget from both the CARES Act and the rescue plan, and they were just overwhelmed with applications given the new funding stream. So they are behind in reviewing, but we expect that final approval at any moment. So where you see the difference between the 27 counties that opted in and the 39 counties that are members, those that did not opt into the grant either had a plan in process at the time or had one in hand. So at the end of the grant period, it's our hope that all of our member counties, all 39 member counties, will have countywide broadband strategic plans. We're having to be a little flexible in the order in which the resources are flowing, but that'll be a good tool for all of you once that grant is approved and the work is done and you have that countywide plan in hand. The second item of business under Golden State Connect is really, I'll just take a second to touch on this one. It's really capacity building and information sharing. So we've developed a website at goldenstateconnect.org, and there's a resource page. And on that resource page where we have documents and resources, I'll draw your attention there for a broadband funding resource guide, lists all of the federal and state and other funding opportunities for broadband. We update that quarterly, and it's just a good resource go-to tool. The other thing that we're working to set up now is a speaker series, a broadband speaker series, envisioned as an every other month kind of lunch and learn. We'll do a broadband session, bring in experts or innovators from inside and outside of California to talk about innovative approaches to deploying broadband across rural areas of the nation. And then the last item there in blue is what we really wanted to touch on today. And I wanted to introduce, many of you have heard us talk about this before, but I didn't want to assume that everybody had. So I wanted to touch a little bit on this segment of the work that's going to be done by Golden State Connect Authority. We are actually going to deploy broadband infrastructure that will be in the open access public benefit last mile model. So last mile, for ease of discussion here, again, not assuming that all are have the same level of knowledge. Last mile is really looked at as fiber to the address. And that's what we're going to be focusing on with our last mile delivery. Open access is a particular model of broadband deployment. And before I go to the next slide and kind of illustrate that, I want to just say that public benefit is an important component or thought process in everything that we do at Golden State Connect, because we really do exist for the benefit of our member counties and hold that very high in regard to everything that RCRC does, and certainly with the execution of Golden State Connect. So under public benefit, you're going to be looking at things like free Wi-Fi in public areas, putting sensors on systems that can detect early fire warning systems, road safety, air quality monitoring. Anything and everything is open for discussion and application to lay over the system that we intend to deploy. And just before I leave this slide, you'll see it on the next slide as well, our key priorities. And I just wanted to touch on that really quickly. Fiber first, and that's very deliberately worded in that manner, in that we're focusing on fiber deployment with the understanding that fiber is not going to be the answer for everywhere. So we're open to the best technologies, but we're really focused on fiber to the address, and where that can't happen, a really robust fiber backhaul for whatever system, be it wireless or satellite, that comes off of the end of our lines. Capacity goes to not only speed, but the future proofing, if you will, the system. So we're going to build it in a very robust way, and with the expectation that we start the conversation for everybody that we deliver fiber or deliver our network to, that gig speed will be on the menu of opportunities for anybody who wants to access that level, that capacity within the system. If gig is good enough for urban areas, it's certainly good enough for rural areas. Broadband for all really goes, I say, to the farm, not only the farmhouse. Not only are we reaching every location that we pass, that's a priority, but we're really looking for innovative approaches to deploy broadband across farm fields, across ranch land, for monitoring of natural resource management purposes, for precision agriculture in any and all applications. And then the last item there, leverage existing resources and investments via partnership. That's a must. That's a high priority for us. We're looking for, as indicated by a future partnership with the South Salinas Valley Broadband Authority, we're looking for partnerships where we can leverage resources and investments and really extend fully the infrastructure that we build. There's not enough money to do all, so we really need to utilize the resources appropriately. Again, under the banner of just, this being our first opportunity to speak to you all as a body, I wanted to talk just briefly about open access and what that model looks like. If you think about the way airports are built and operated, usually it's a local governmental entity or an authority, if you will, that owns, operates, and maintains an airport. The airplane that fly in, the airlines pay a fee to utilize that resource. And similarly, we as customers who book flights pay a fee that goes back to that airport as well. This is a very similar model to what we envision. So if you look at the center here, Golden State Connect Authority will build the network. We will own, operate, maintain the network. We will invite the service providers onto the network to deliver service to the customers, in this case denoted here as subscribers, but really customers. So we like this model. We looked at this model across the United States in rural areas and urban areas, and we feel like it's a model that it's very financeable. It exists in other areas of the U.S. and bond purchasers like and are familiar with this model, which is how we are going to leverage some of the financing to build the system. We like it also because it creates an opportunity for multiple service providers to compete for customers. And that in turn will drive down cost and hopefully increase opportunities or choices for the customers. So again, we think it's a good model for our member counties in the areas that we're going to deploy broadband. This is my last slide, and then I'll pause for questions and conversation. But I just wanted to give you an update of where we are in this process relative to the South Salinas Valley area. So as of today, we've completed the items there on the left-hand side of the screen. You all with this meeting are formally established. We at Golden State Connect, we've done completed high-level project area designs for the footprint that covers the breadth and depth of this JPA of the 4 cities and the county area surrounding and in between those cities. We've identified our financing team, and we've identified an operational partner with a lot of experience in both cases. Both the financing team includes underwriters and bond counsel who have issued bonds for telecommunication for open access public benefit municipal broadband projects previously. Similarly, our operational partner that we've identified is Utopia Fiber out of the state of Utah. And they are at present, and I say at present because we hope to eclipse them at some point in the not too distant future, but they are at present the largest open access public benefit municipal last mile fiber to the address provider in the United States. So they've got just a wealth of information, experience, and knowledge that they are willing and able to share with us. Next steps, and I couldn't hear Renee very well as he was teeing my presentation up, but one of the next steps that we are working on with Renee on behalf of this body right now is developing a draft MOU that can be executed between the South Salinas Valley Broadband Authority and Golden State Connect Authority. The idea here is that we want to call out the expectations of both parties and really make it very clear and transparent. We are envisioning that the South Salinas Valley Broadband Authority will be our partner in this endeavor in all aspects of the word. We need each other to be successful. You with your local knowledge, and then Golden State Connect Authority with the financing and ability to deploy an open access model. Next step for design purposes, we are developing that low-level network design plan. And we want to take advantage of a program that's going to open very soon at the California Public Utility Commission, which is called the Local Agency Technical Assistance Fund. This was a program that was established last summer when the governor signed SB 156 that dedicated $6 billion toward broadband deployment and investment in the state of California. 50 million of that $6 billion was dedicated toward the formation of the Local Agency Technical Assistance Fund. This is a program that's open to local agencies, local governments, tribes, and nonprofits to apply for 100% funding for projects that are needed for pre-development. So anything before a shovel turns dirt relative to broadband deployment. And we'd like to, and we're organizing the scope and the associated budget to be able to go after some of these local agency technical assistance funds on behalf of the South Salinas Valley Broadband Authority for the development of those low-level or final network design plans. So we're working on getting the scope and the budget, which is needed for the application on that. That's going on right now. We also, once we have those final network design plans, we'll evaluate our financial strategy. We've done, as I said, high-level network design, and we have costs associated with that. And we have a good idea of what the financial stack for the South Salinas Valley broadband area will look like. And it will likely include, well, it will include for certain a bond issuance by Golden State Connect Authority. So Golden State Connect will issue bonds, and those bonds will be purchased by private investors in the market. We will use those funds to deploy broadband network across the area. We will, in all likelihood, require an additional financing pot in the financial stack, and we're looking to the federal fund account / last mile fund that also was augmented. It existed, but it was augmented with the signing of SB 156 last year. So between the bond issuance and the total cost of deploying open access network in the South Salinas Valley broadband project area, there'll be a delta. And that's where we will apply, we being Golden State Connect Authority, will apply for funds under the CPUC federal fund account last mile account when it opens later this year to deploy that network. So that was probably more detail than you needed, but I just wanted to kind of walk through a high level overview of what's been done and what the next steps are, what's in motion, and give you an idea of a little bit of background about Golden State Connect Authority. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Barbara. I do have a quick question. I'm wondering, on one of your slides, you had initial project areas, but you didn't really touch on that. You know, we worry sometimes that there's a lot of demand, desire, and need throughout the state. Can you give us a picture of how many projects you're focusing on early, and where would we potentially sit within that?
Yes, so we have a list of about 15 project areas we are evaluating across our 39 member county area. This project would be in the first tranche. It would be among the first 3 that we would likely roll out. And we have not yet made the project areas public beyond the Golden State Connect Authority Executive Committee. But in order of timing, this would be in the first rollout, the first tranche.
Thank you. At this time, I'll open it up for any questions from the dais.
Through the chair, just one quick question. I know that in part of the presentation, you mentioned future proofing, and I know it's really early on and technology moves really quickly. How would you, or how would the authority look at, through this JPA future proofing?
Yeah, so we're working very closely with our operational partner, Utopia Fiber, and also with Golden State Net, which is the entity that was created to operate and maintain the state's middle mile, the open access middle mile. So we're really looking at those 2 standards as far as future proofing and the equipment and electronics that will be used, and also the way that the electronics are used, so that as improvements in technology come over years, that it can be swapped out rather seamlessly as and not create or upset the system once it's developed or once it's built.
So just one last thing. So just ease of access to that, to be able to swap out that, is that part of what the plan would be in that low level, a mapping, and then future mapping that goes a little deeper than that? Is that part of the plan?
Yes, it is. So it's not done at the high level. The high level is really just network design, how many miles of fiber, and then assumptions, broad assumptions based on the electronics. Once we get into the low level or the final, network design, that's when we'll really get down to how many strands and what the electronic infrastructure looks like in the huts and that sort of thing. Yes.
Thank you, Barbara.
Mhm.
So before we leave that topic, I have a little bit of a brass tacks question then. For where I live, 50 megabytes a second is considered ridiculously fast. What kind of speeds are you talking about?
Like I said, we are looking at having gig speed be on the menu of every provider that is on our network. So, and it'll be up to the customer, of course, to select that at that price point. But we're really looking at everything from the new minimum that the state and soon the federal government, with the release of the National Telecommunication Information Administration dollars that will flow through the states next year. We're really looking at a base of 100 over 20. So it'll be incremental increases starting at the 100 over 20 and moving up from there. There's also, I should mention, because I know it's very important to this team in this effort overall, is there will be an affordable option as well. And that's actually one of the requirements associated with receiving those federal fund account last mile dollars from the state, but also it's something that Golden State Connect Authority is committed to as well.
All right, so what about timeline? We didn't talk about timeline. I know you talk about a lot of moving parts out there, but what do you best case, worst case, what do you see in terms of expectations based on release of funds?
Yeah, it depends on the CPUC at this point, because we do need the federal fund account and another program that I didn't call out, but is critical to the ability to issue bonds for Golden State Connect Authority. And that's the loan loss reserve account, also created within SB 156. In both cases, well, in the case of the federal fund account, the guidelines have been issued. So it's gone through rulemaking, the guidelines are issued. The state just has to issue or release the maps for the eligible areas on a county by county basis, and then open the application period. We anticipate that that will happen likely in the next 6 months. The lagger at this point is that loan loss reserve account. This is a brand new program within the state of California, established under SB 156. The proceeding is open, but rulemaking has not begun. The staff report is due to the commission by August 1st, which we're quickly approaching. And if you look at the calendar just by way of the public process, the loan loss reserve account will likely be available in Q1 of next year. So that's a long way of coming back around to your question, Supervisor Lopez, is that our intent is to be ready to go with those final network design plans in hand. And as soon as those programs open, we'll go in and make application as soon as each program opens and begin the work as soon as we receive approval of receipt of those funds.
Great, thank you. And I just want to say, just because it's important to me, that when we talk about gig speed, if there's anybody that doesn't know, it's 1,000 megabytes per second. That is exciting. That draws businesses to our region. That's a change maker. Thank you. All right, I see Renee coming forward, so I'll go ahead and I stole your microphone. Try that one.
That one should be on. If not, this one's on. Paul.
Okay, so just a couple of things procedurally. Like Barbara mentioned, we have been working on the agreements. So one of the things this the plan for your next meeting. I haven't sent Trot yet to join. So last time he's getting them. But there's a couple of things that are going to happen. There's going to be the agreement between proposal and agreement between this party and Golden State Connect. So that's one. The other thing you're going to start seeing is the current JPA. Even though I pushed this up, last thing Mike Rodriguez always kept kind of pulling me back, which is my needs to occur, is there's going to be probably individual agreements for the cities. The JPA is gonna be a conduit to that, so they're gonna be an overall sort of just liaison role that this JPA would serve, but the city still have your own authority, we have our own authorities. So there's gonna be a conduit, he's gonna come to this body, and then it's the whole, then you take it back to your individual cities that get the approvals needed. Actually to start the design stuff. So that's going to be a couple of things. We haven't get the JPA kind of it's early stages, so you might involve, the JPA might involve in it sometime in the future, but at least initially to get this work started, it's going to be individual leaders of the cities in the county. That will be followed through the JPA and then take it back to your government. So that's just what I meant. So you'll start getting that at the next meeting. That's an additional, your next meeting is going to be a lot more housekeeping items. That's what's coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Any other questions from the dais? All right, seeing none, we'll open it up to the public. Ask folks via Zoom if they have questions to use *9 via landline or raise hand function at the bottom of your screen to be recognized. All right, seeing no hands up, we will consider that item received. Thank you, Barbara, so much for spending your time with us this morning, explaining all the potential. We appreciate you and thanks for coming down to see us in South County last week. We really took that to heart.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're going to proceed with our agenda. Our next item is our executive director's report. I don't know if that's what we just
I
received.
think that's what you're going to say.
Great. Just for housekeeping, any public comment on the executive director's report? Seeing no hands going up, we will close public comment on that item, bring it back. And now we're looking at future agenda items. I believe we received that as well. And before we get to adjournment, I'll open it up. Mike, I see your hand up.
Just a quick question. So are we required to file Form 700, conflict of interests? And if so, it's usually within what, 30 days of taking a position? Then I would need, do we file it?
Or you won't until you adopt a conflict of interest code.
Okay.
So you're not a state filer for purposes of being on this JPA. So we'll be bringing forward, somebody will be bringing forward a conflict of interest code with you. The JPA calls for it within a year of formation. So at that time, I would expect that each of you will be filing Form 700 as with your executive director and your agency counsel. Just for the benefit of the board, the JPA appoints the general manager of the city of Gonzales and county council as in those respective roles through the second meeting of this agency. So at the next meeting, we'll need to consider doing an RFP, appointing an agency council. That's for the council side of it. I believe you're going to have an agreement with them for general manager services. Probably need to consider clerk services, how that is going to be funded. One of the issues about whether you have insurance and a whole variety of things that eventually will come before you. The next meeting, because you have not set a regular time and place, will be a special meeting, not a regular meeting, just like this one was a special meeting. I'll work with the general manager on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Les. Any additional questions? All right, seeing none. Any additional public comment given that report? Seeing no hands going up and nobody in chambers, we're at the most important item, which is adjournment. Thank you all for being here.
Short and sweet.
Like,
I only wish. Sometimes ours goes till 11 o'clock.
Oh,
It's gonna be midnight.
This one has been 8:30. It's like, let's get.
Oh, no.
So I get home, I was just, I'll start telling something. Okay. You're not, you can't hurry.